Thanks for joining me for another session of Basefield in 5. We are back in event operations, and for this video, we're focusing on selected options. And what does that mean? The selected button up here is made to help users manage the data table. And in here, you'll find things like selected, select all, or deselect all. But there's also a couple of other advanced features that I want to show you today, which is the lock and show selected, as well as the update selected. The last one you see in here, pick columns, is going to be its own video. So check that one out if you're interested. So let's walk through some of these things. Select all and deselect all work exactly how you would expect, right? So if I select all, it's going to select everything that's returned in this query. You see that this is showing you 100. So there's 100 items in this table that I've selected. And then of course you can delete select those. Additionally though, you can also just click select. I'm not holding any keys here. It'll just add all of these up. So you can just ad hoc click whichever ones you want. The other thing you could do is use your keyboard. So you can shift click arrows down here. Or if you just want to use your keyboard, you can see which one is selected here, and I can hit enter to show that it actually is selected. So those are just kind of like the ins and outs of how the actual selection works. But the main reason we're in this video is to talk through how we can take advantage of this selection feature. So what are we doing with selected? Obviously, we're working with bulk actions. All of this drop down are things that you can apply to, say, everything that you have selected, which would be 7, right? So if I wanted to go here and change the priority for all of these to medium, you'll see that it does that in a bulk way and lets you manage it that way. So one important thing to note about selection is that they save the item for future reference. So if you go to, you select something here and go over to the cases page and come back, you're still going to have that item selected. And that solves two important things. First, you can collect events from multiple queries and perform an action on them together, say like creating a case. Let's walk through that really quick. Say we have this solar site alarm and we want to look up additional alarms based on that solar site. So one of the things you can do over here is select that one. You see it's selected. We can jump over to the tree view, grab some of the inverters off that solar site. And let's grab a couple of these other alarms because we know today there's something we want to investigate. Let's add that to the selection list. We see the number increase. And now we come into that feature of lock and show selected. So whenever you want to see only the events that you've actually selected, you can come up in here and pop that button, right? As you see, we see our solar site one. We brought those inverter ones together. And now we can perform actions on them across multiple queries and kind of save that and always come back. One thing to note up here is that if you ever get refresh data from the query, is it'll show you that warning saying that you have locked a certain set of information here and your certain set of events. But in the background, we've updated that data. And if you ever want to get that update, you can use this update selected option, right? And what this is going to do is pull in some of that background query data and refresh what you see on your page. And now that we have those selected, you can now perform actions on these like they were just on any other part of the table, right? So, in our example here, we might want to go create a case because we wanted to jump these together and create cases are maybe our best way of following up on this. And maybe that's how we want to handle it. But let's talk about the other item here. The other thing that this is going to do is let you save what you were working on. So let's say you have a query where you were filtering on something being unacknowledged, right? If I go and acknowledge it, that's going to drop this from the query, right? Now that could be pretty annoying if there was other things that I wanted to do with it. So what you can do is you can select it, then acknowledge it, right? And it's going to fly off the list. But if you wanted to come through and investigate it more, we can bring this back, right? So now we have our event back. We can just then change things like, oh, we wanted to do that. We still needed to investigate something. Let's drop a comment. Say I notified the site, right? So this brings sort of a pin feature, and it's very handy to understand that if you were something that you were trying to investigate, this would be the way of kind of pinning it to your screen if you had that filter on. And this is especially handy if your refresh is happening quite often, right? Because things can fly in and off the screen. And if you were investigating a bunch of different alarms here, you'd want to pull in that selected. So if you ever go in here and say like, oh, hey, I'm going to acknowledge all these alarms, they're going to fly right off the screen, right? Every time we get that refresh, and I might want to still do something with it. So this is that opportunity for you to do that. I hope you enjoyed the quick run through, and I'll see you in the next one.